Hello everyone, ARG back with some more Franchise Hockey Manager 9, and today we have some more Hartford Whalers action where we are going to be playing in March of 1983. The trade deadline is right around the corner, and I almost pulled the trigger on a trade. I changed my mind at the last second, so I'm sorry we're not going to get a big trade going here. So I almost traded for Don Beaupre. I feel like in net is pretty much the only place where I need to improve. And Don Beaupre plays for the Blues. The Blues are not in a very good spot. And they still have Mike Liut to play in net. So I was like, oh, maybe I can pry Don Beaupre away from them, but it was gonna cost too much. I would have had to part ways with Gordy Roberts to make it work, and I don't know that our D can take that kind of hit. So we're gonna go ahead and chance it with the goaltenders that we have. Now, what makes me sad is that part of the deal I was sending this guy that kind of pissed me off last stream. I was sending him back to St. Louis and as part of the package and everything. This guy doesn't want to negotiate with me due to a bug in the software, so that's kind of shitty, but it is what it is. Anyway. So, where we're at right now is we are top of our division, right? So we are above the Montreal Canadiens for the very first time. And we're doing pretty good. We have a 7-point lead over the Quebec Nordiques, who are second in our division. So the month of March is really going to be about trying to win as many games as possible and not getting too injured, and kind of just solidify our spot there as top of the division so that we have the best path possible in the playoffs. A lot of whether we make it or not is going to rely on our goaltending. That's kind of why I wanted help, but I wasn't willing to pay the price. So I'm kind of standing pat unless something falls on my lap. We never know. So on the injury front, Anton Stashny and Rob Ramage should be back soon. We have Tapio Levo that's going to come back sometime during this month. Looks like March is going to be pretty busy, so let's get to it. It starts today at home against the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo is 6th in the conference. At one point, they were top of our division. Our division is really tight. Like, we have 83 points, then the Nordiques have 76, Montreal 73, Buffalo 73, and then Boston's kind of trading with 58. But yeah, like a really good month from any of those three teams, and just a so-so month from us, and then all of a sudden we have a fire on our butts. So yeah. Alright, so, I say let's get going. Buffalo in town, as I said, 31, 22, and 11 for them. We are 3-2 against Buffalo this season. Let's go ahead and get this going here. Alright, so Goran Augusta is going to be in net for the Sabres. We are going to go with John Garrett, and of course, go Whalers go. And it starts with a nice 7-2 win on home ice against the Buffalo Sabres. We outshot Buffalo 39-23. Gordy Roberts, whom I didn't trade, was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Peter Stashny was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Paul Coffey was the third star with 2 goals. 9,653 people. 9,653 people were in attendance for this game. I don't know why it was hard. Let me check something. Alright. So Darren Veitch opened up excuse me. Darren Veitch opened up the scoring in the first. That was his 20th of the season. So Darren Veitch with 20 goals from Bo Berglund and Dave Poulin. It was 1-0 Hartford. Peter Stastny from Wilf Payment and Jay Wells. Then Dave Poulin short-handed from Brent Sutter and Jay Wells. It was 3-0 at that point. Buffalo did score a goal, but then Randy Coneyworth scored his 5th unassisted. It was 4-1 Hartford after 1. Then in the second period, Paul Coffey scored his 10th of the season from Gordy Roberts and Mark Missy, made it 5-1. And then in the third, Wilf Payment scored on a power play from Gordy Roberts and Darren Veitch. Then Paul Coffey on the power play from Rob Ramage and Peter Stastny. And then finally, Buffalo scored, made it 7-2. Nice victory to start the month here for us. That's pretty good. A nice 7-2 win. Right, Blake Wesley has been put on waivers by the Philadelphia Flyers. Mark Howe has a great game. He had 4 assists against the Devils. The owner, how do you feel? Season is successful. Try to keep a balance. You think we should be contenders next year? Fans are thrilled and no need to worry for my job. Kent Eric Anderson might be departing Calgary. He's been put on the block there. Could Jim Corsi be traded? Been put on the block. Oh, and then there's been a trade between the Kings and the Flyers. Gary Rissling goes to the Flyers for Gary Morrison. A pair of Garys have been traded. I think I'm going to put that guy on the trading block. You know what? You don't want to sign with me? That's fine. I'm going to put you on the trade block. Who knows? Maybe somebody's gonna want him, and maybe he's gonna want to discuss a contract extension with them. All right, Kelly Greenbank has been put on waivers. Tony McKegney keeps fans on their feet all night. He had 3 goals and 3 assists against the Kings. Pretty good game for Tony McKegney. No miss time for Wayne Babbage. He's not suspended in St. Louis. Dino Ciccarelli extends his point streak to 20 games with 2 goals and an assist against the Blues. Those guys are feeling more acclimated. Chuck Arneson has been put on the block. Same for Perry Metter. Right, so then there's been a trade. Kelly Greenback going to the Flyers and then being put straight on waivers for Tommy Albeline. Right, so the Leafs have acquired Tommy Albeline. Of course, Tommy Albeline played in the NHL. Most of it, if not all of his career, was with the Devils. Yeah, that's what I thought. So most of his career with the Devils. He did have a stint with the Flames that I forgot about, and he did start his career with the Nordiques. That was right when I was starting to watch hockey, so I don't quite remember that, but I do remember that he played a lot with the Devils. And I remember that he played until he was fairly old, too. All right. And then we have a trade proposal from the Red Wings. Frank Negro for Denis C. Let's take a look at you. Yeah, I think that's going to be a no for me. Oh, you did play in real life. Yeah, that's going to have to be a no for me. I'd rather have the contract slot. All right, let's advance. We have a few days off here before we play in Quebec against the Nordiques. Ooh, lots of... Oh, Chico Resch has been put on waivers. Gary Rissling was just acquired recently. He's been put on waivers as well. John Paddock on waivers. Tom Williams on waivers. And Greg Shepard on waivers. Chico Resch, my man. He's getting older, too. He's not that big of an upgrade over what I already have. Tempting, but I'm just gonna let him slide. Dynamic passing leads to productive night for Mike Bossy. He had 4 assists against the Leafs. Pittsburgh might entertaining offers for Bob Murdoch. Not interested. Yeah, Sebek's been put on the block by us. Then there's been a trade between the Kings and the Flyers. Randy Mainray for Earl Ingarfield. Kings are offering us Roman Wager for Bernie Johnson. No. Frank Negro for Stuart Smith this time. That's a no. Today's the last day to make trades. Oh god. Now I feel pressured to make a trade, but I'm not going to do it. I'm gonna stick to my guns for this year. We'll see if something comes through for that unhappy guy. Hopefully. I'm ready to take almost anything from him. Because I'm gonna lose him for nothing. I lost Rick Aduono from him. No, didn't get another offer. Alright, so Brad Selwood is on waivers, Blake Wesley is on waivers, and Jerry Art is on waivers. So it looks like the Flyers might have made some trades there, passing some demon on through waivers. So Philadelphia and Detroit, Randy Holt goes to Detroit for John Bloom and Frank Negro. Oh, they finally found somebody to take Frank Negro. Look at that. Right, and then John Stewart goes to LA for Mike Height. Lauren Henning for John Johansson. And then Daniel Held for Dean Turner. Not the trade deadline trades that gets fans excited. Right, we decided to stick to our team, right? Let's believe in our team and all of that good stuff. But yeah, I don't know what that's going to do. I'm still unsure about our goaltending. So now we are playing a back-to-back home and home against the Quebec Nordiques. So it starts in Quebec. They are 34, 20, and 12. That's good for 4th in the conference. We are 3-0-1 against the Nordiques. Let's keep it a record with no losses. We're going to have John Garrett in net. They're going to have Michel Dion, and of course, go Waiters go. And a nice 3-1 road victory here in Quebec City. Awesome. Quebec outshot us though, 32-28. Marian Stashny was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Peter Lee was the second star with an assist, and Gordy Roberts was the third star with a goal. Matty Agman opened up the scoring in the first from Bernie Johnston and Glenn Anderson. Then the Nordiques tied the game, and then we scored again. Brent Sutter from Marian Stashny and Vaclav Sebek, the guy that's unhappy. 2-1 Hartford here after one. There was a fight between Dale Hunter and Jay Wells. Then in the third period, Gordy Roberts scored from Marian Stashny and Wolf Payment. It was 3-1, and of course that's the end of the game, so a nice 3-1 victory there. Strong night for Rick Middleton. He had 4 assists against the Blackhawks. Good game for Al Seckert in that same game. He had 3 goals and an assist. Dino Ciccarelli extends his point streak to 21 games with 2 goals and 2 assists against the Red Wings. Wayne Gretzky extends his goal streak to 5 games. He had 2 goals and an assist against the Leafs. Peter McNabb has a strong game. 3 goals and an assist in that same game. Maurice Lukowicz has a good game. 2 goals and 4 assists against the Vancouver Canucks. Rob Ramage feeling better. Anton Stashny feeling better. And Maurice Lukowicz extended in Winnipeg for 2 years. Not extending for too long. Winnipeg is really cold in the winter, so players are like, yeah, I don't know, man. Oh, apparently Bo Berglund got hurt. I wasn't notified. So we're going to need to put him on the injured reserve. He's out 1 to 2 weeks. And we're going to need to recall somebody. Probably Craig Laughlin. Let's get Craig Laughlin up. All right. Right, so now the second of the back-to-back against the Nordiques. We are now 4-0-1, of course. They are still fourth in the conference. Let's go. Alright, so Gilles Meloche is going to be in net for the Nordiques this time. We're going to go with Jim Martinson. And of course, go Waiters! Back home. Hopefully it's our 40th win of the season. And it is not. We lost 4-0 in front of our fans. This is unacceptable. Oh yeah, we were outshot 34-18. We were never in this game. Brackenbury is the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Dale Hunter, the second star with 2 assists. And Oganson, the third star with an assist. 9,033 people in attendance. Not a whole lot to talk about. They scored 4 goals. We scored 0. Let's move on. Dino Ciccarelli extends his point streak to 22 games with 2 goals against the Kings. Strong game for Ron Greshner with the Rangers. He had 4 assists against the Devils. Rob Ramage is ready to go. That's good. Oh, Gretzky is hurt. Oh, he's day-to-day. I don't know if he can play. Our next game is against Edmonton. He might not be able to play. That makes it better for us. Right, so Martial is on waivers. Randy Holt is on waivers. And Neil Arroyo is on waivers as well. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Alright, so Rob Ramage, okay, he was already there. Alright, so Rob Ramage is good to go. No, we're good. Okay, Anton Stashny about to be back, that's good. Alright. Oh, Gretzky will play. Okay, that's a playable injury. Alright, so Edmonton is in town. They are 38, 17, and 14. We are 0-2 against the Oilers. We have not beat them this season. I'd like to change that. Al Smith is going to be in net for Edmonton. John Garrett in net for the Oilers. Come on, we can beat our former goaltenders, surely. No, another 4-0 loss on home ice. Wow, the Oilers shut down on home ice for 2 games in a row. Another 4-0 loss. We were outshot 35-23. Carrier was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Smith was the second star with 2 assists. And Carlson was the third star with a goal. 9,437 people were like, what the fudge sickle, man. Nobody fought. They scored 4 goals. We didn't score any. Let's move on. Oh, and Paul Coffey suffers his 3rd injury of the season. That one is day-to-day. We should be okay. Alright. No miss time for Marcel Dion, not suspended in LA. Dino Ciccarelli extends his point streak to 23 games. He had 3 assists against the Sabres. And Anton Stashny should be back soon. Alright, we're going to go ahead and advance one more day, and then we're going to be playing in New Jersey against the Devils. John Anderson keeps fans on their feet all night. He had a hat-trick against the Blues. Anton Stashny almost back. Alright, so New Jersey is 15, 44, and 10. That's good for dead last in the conference. We are 2-0 against the Devils. We just got shut out our last 2 games. We cannot afford to lose this game. So let's go in New Jersey and really, really, really bring it to them. John Garrett in net for the Oilers. Ed Staniowski in net for the Devils. Go Oilers, go! A 4-4 tie. That's unacceptable against the Devils. They're bad. We outshot them 40-27. Dave Babich was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Wolf Payment was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Barry Beck was the third star with an assist. Devils scored twice in the first period. It was 2-0 Devils after one. Then in the second period, Ray Neufeld scored from Brent Sutter and Vaclav Sebek. Then Wolf Payment from Peter Stastny and Matty Agman. But then the Devils scored. It was 3-2 New Jersey after two. We had a fight between Barry Beck and Mark Messier. Then in the third period, the Devils scored again. They had a 2-goal lead, but then we scored 2 goals in 30 seconds. Randy Cunneyworth scored from Wolf Payment and Gordy Roberts, and then Bernie Johnston from Tommy Samuelson and Marian Stastny. It was 4-4. We had another fight between Trevor Johansson and Wolf Payment. Alright, so a tie. I suppose it's a point, but we should have won this game. Bernie Johnston improves at left wing. Alright, we have 2 days off, and then we're going to be hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins, who is also a bad team. And we're back home. Are we going to get shut out again? Brad Park has reached 1,000 games played in his career. Didn't get a point. That was against the Montreal Canadiens. Brad Park is 34 years old, and he is a 4-star player. Gord Lane back from suspension in Montreal, back in the lineup. Dino Ciccarelli's .3 ended at 23 games. He was held scoreless against the Flyers. Tapio Levo is almost recovered. Anton Stastny is recovered. He comes back in. So Craig Laughlin goes back down. Oh wait, let's make sure that I can get Anton Stastny. Yeah, I can. Okay. That's gonna help. He's an important player for our team. Alright, so another day off, and then it's Pittsburgh. Okay, Tapio Levo almost completely recovered. That is good news. Alright, Pittsburgh is 19-42-9. That's good for 10th in the conference. They are just slightly better than the Devils. We are 1-0-1 against the Penguins this year. Greg Millen is going to be in net for Pittsburgh. John Garrett in net for us. And of course, go Waiters. A 4-3 win. We managed to score some goals on home ice finally. Look at us. 40th win of the season. That took long enough. We were outshot, however, 39-34. Darren Veitch was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Johnson from Pittsburgh was the second star with a goal and an assist, and Rob Ramage was the third star with an assist. 9,837 people in attendance for the game. Anton Stastny celebrated his return to the lineup with a goal in the first period from Darren Veitch and Rob Ramage. And we had a fight between Bernie Johnston and Jack Mikilargi. Then in the second period, Darren Veitch scored from Glenn Anderson, and then Greg Teberge scored on the power play unassisted. It was 3-0 Hartford at that point. Then Pittsburgh scored. It was 3-1 Hartford after two. Jay Wells and Horace Kindrachuk got into a fight. Then in the third period, Pittsburgh scored twice to tie the game. But with 1 second left to go in the game, Bernie Johnston scored his 5th of the season from Vaclav Sebek and Brent Sutter. 4-3 the Hartford win. Wow. With 1 second left to go, we managed to win the game. That's a clutch goal right there. Mike Rogers extends his goal streak to 5 games. Our old pal Mike Rogers here scored a goal against us. That's five straight for him with a goal. Jay Wells converts back to left defense. He's been moving back and forth. We have 3 days off before we play against the Montreal Canadiens. Gord Lane has been put on waivers by the Habs. Bobby Clark extends his assist streak to 8 games. He had an assist against the Boston Bruins. Big game for the Rat. He had 4 assists in that same game. And Steve Payne extends his point streak to 12 games with a goal against the Nordiques. Big game for Dale McCourt. He had a hat-trick against the Maple Leafs. And a good night for Brett Callaghan. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Buffalo Sabres. to take that. Alright, sorry about that. I had a phone call I had to take. Alright, so where were we? Steve Payne extends his point streak to 13 games. He had 2 assists against the Canucks. Mike Bosniak was suspended in Philadelphia. He's going to miss 7 games. Bobby Clark's assist streak ended at 8 games. He didn't get a point at all against the Rangers. And Rick Wamsley has an illness. Alright, so we are in Montreal to play against the Canadiens. Montreal is 37-25-8. That's good for 5th in the conference. We are 4-2-1 against the Abs this season, so it's been a fairly successful season against them, at least compared to what we've seen in the past against that team. Alright, so John Garrett in net for us, Pat Regan in net for the Abs. Go, Whalers, go. Oh, a 5-0 win at the Montreal Forum. That's always good. Shutting out the Montreal Canadiens on their own ice. That's going to shut their fans up. They're not going to do the ole, ole, ole. All right, so we outshot them 27-19. Anton Stashny was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Greg Teberge was the second star with a goal and an assist, and Peter Stashny was the third star with a goal and an assist. Mark Messier opened up the scoring in the first from Peter Stashny and Tommy Samuelson. 1-0 Hartford after one. Then in the second period, Greg Teberge scored on the power play from Matty Hagman and Darren Veitch. Then Peter Stashny from Wilf Payment and Mark Messier. And then Marian Stashny scored his 20th of the season from Dave Poulin and Anton Stashny 4-0 after 2. There was some fighting between Blaine Stockton and Randy Coneyworth. And then in the third period, Dave Poulin added a shorty from Anton Stashny and Greg Teberge. 5-0 the final score. Very, very, very nice game. Bernie Johnston converts to left wing. Right, we're going to advance and we're going to play in Washington the very next day. The Caps are 26-33-11. That's good for 9th in the conference. We are 0-1-1 against the Capitals. So despite their bad record, we have not been having a good season against them. I'd like to change that right now, of course. John Garrett in net for us. Doug Keens is in net for the Washington Capitals. Come on, Whalers. Let's make it 2 wins on the road in 2 nights. Now, shall we? Nope, we lost 4-3. So we went winless against the Capitals this season. We outshot them 35-34. Denis Marouk was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Matty Hagman was the second star with an assist. And Ryan Walter was the third star with 2 assists. Capitals scored the first goal of the game. Then Greg Teberge tied from Matty Hagman and Tommy Samuelson. And then the Capitals scored again. It was 2-1 Washington after 1. Then in the second period, Glenn Anderson scored from Rob Ramage and Mark Messier. 2-2 there after 2. Then in the third period, Washington made it 4-2. Mark Messier scored with 22 seconds left in the game from Peter Stashny. We were to within 1, but with only 22 seconds left to go in the game, we ran out of time, couldn't tie the game, and we lost 4-3. Danny Gare has achieved 300 goals in his career. He had 1 goal against the Calgary Flames. Danny Gare's 28 and he is a 2-star player. There was no stopping Wayne Gretzky. He had 3 goals and 2 assists against the Canucks. Steve Payne extends his point streak to 14 games. He had a goal against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Brian Trottier is not suspended with the Islanders. And memorable night for Peter McNabb with Toronto. He had 4 assists against the Red Wings. Right, we have 3 days off, and then the Flames are going to be in town. Martin Malinowski extends his goal streak to 5 games for the Devils. He had a goal against the Islanders. A night to remember for Jack Valiquette in that same game. He had 4 assists. Paul Coffey should be back soon, as well as Tapio Levo. That'd be great. Okay, again, Coffey and Levo almost back. Right, strong game for Marcel Dion with the Kings. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Good night for Craig Artsberg with Minnesota. He had 3 goals against the St. Louis Blues. In that same game, Steve Payne extended his point streak to 15 games. He had 2 assists. Passes on point for Bobby Smith in that same game. 5 assists. That's pretty good. Bo Berglund almost back. Tapio Levo feeling better as well. So I have 3 guys that are on the brink of returning. Right, Flames are in town. They are 20-39-14. We are 1-1 against the Flames this season. I'd like a win. Yeah, that's what I thought. We're not having a really good month. Like, in fact, the Nordiques got closer. They're only 5 points behind now. So I need some W's. Denis Héron in net for the Flames. John Garrett in net for us. Go Waiters, go. Yikes. We lost 7-2 on home ice. That's not pretty. I don't like that we're starting to falter right before the playoffs. Now I'm like, maybe I should have traded for Don Beaupre. Now I'm starting to second guess everything. Flames outshot us 43-23. Boldyrev was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 3 assists. Rota was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Gagne was the third star with a goal and an assist. 8,922 people in attendance. Rob Ramage opened up the scoring in the first. That was his 10th of the season from Peter Stastny and Paul Coffey. Then the Flames scored twice. Then we tied the game. Peter Stastny scored his 30th. From Greg Teberge, it was 2-2. And then before the end of the period, the Flames took the lead 3-2 Calgary after 1. Then they added a goal in the second period and 3 more in the third period. 7-2. We had a fight between Paul Coffey and Paul Baxter. Right, Ron Duguay has a great game. He had a goal and 5 assists against the Boston Bruins. Bob Gladney has a good game as well in that same game. He had 3 goals and an assist. Paul Coffey is back and Tapio Levo as well. Wow, just like that we're getting 2 defensemen back. Right, Paul Coffey, let's see. Yeah, that's going to be Tommy Samuelson that goes down. Wait, I can go get Tapio Levo, right? Oh yeah. Alright, we have a day off and then we're going to host the St. Louis Blues. We have not been doing good at home during this stretch, during this month. Memorable game for Tony McKegney. He had 4 goals against the North Stars. Alright, so Tony McKegney did have some good seasons. Like, when I started to watch hockey, he was kind of at the end of his career, and he wasn't like that productive as you can see. Like, that would be like right around when I started to watch hockey. And Tony McKegney was not like, I remember him on the Nordiques, and you know, he wasn't all that great, but he was kind of at the end of his career. But early in his career, he had some very interesting seasons, so that's probably why he's scoring at the rate that he's scoring. So I was kind of curious. I wanted to check that. Steve Payne extends his point streak to 16 games. He had an assist against the Blackhawks. Bill Derlago extends his point streak to 12 games with a goal and 3 assists against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Bo Berglund feeling better, might be back in the lineup soon. Alright, so St. Louis is in town. The team with whom I almost made a trade. St. Louis is 28, 36, and 10. We are 2-0 against the Blues this season. I'd like to keep a perfect record, please. Mike Liut is going to be in net for the Blues. John Garrett in net for us. Go Whalers, go. And we lost 3-2. Yeah, not a great month. Like, it's not a good sign when you start playing bad before the playoffs. Now I'm starting to worry. We were outshot 37-32. Brown's Child was the first star of the game. He had an assist. Dave Poulin was the second star with an assist. And Zook was the third star with an assist. 8,523 people in attendance for the game. Blues scored first in the first period. Then Paul Coffey tied the game from Glenn Anderson and Gordy Roberts. But then the Blues scored again. It was 2-1 St. Louis after 1. We tied the game again. Randy Cunneyworth did that from Dave Poulin. It was 2-2. But then the Blues scored again 17 seconds later. 3-2 St. Louis after 2. We had a fight between Brent Sutter and Randy Cunneyworth. Between Randy Cunneyworth and Perry Turnbull. Brent Sutter got a boarding major. Then in the third period, Rob Ramage and Cam Connor fought. We had no more goals, though, so that 3-2 St. Louis lead held, and we lost. Brent Sutter is suspended for that boarding call. He's going to miss 2 games. Daryl Sittler has a good game for the Islanders because he was traded there last stream. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Boston Bruins. And Bo Berglund almost back. Oh, John Newberry needs to be sent down. He's probably the one I should have sent down instead of Langfield. Not Langfield, but Lachlan earlier. That's okay. All right, so we are... Wait. Yeah, whenever Bo Berglund comes back, he can go down. All right, so we're going to be playing in Buffalo now. Buffalo is 34, 29, and 12. That's good for 6th in the conference. We're still holding on to our spot as top of the division, but we only have a 3-point lead now. We have been faltering. We are 4-2 against the Sabres this season. Let's beat them, please. Jim Martinson is going to be in net for us. Jacques Cloutier in net for the Sabres. Come on. Come on, Whalers. We need a W here. All right, a nice 6-2 road victory here. Hartford outshot Buffalo 41-22. Peter Stastny was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and 2 assists. Mark Messier was the second star with 4 assists, and Wilf Payment was the third star with a goal and an assist. We scored 3 times in the first period. Peter Stastny scored from Paul Coffey and Mark Messier, then Gordy Roberts from Peter Stastny and Mark Messier, and then finally Peter Stastny from Wilf Payment and Mark Messier. 3-0 Hartford here after 1. We had a fight between Danny Gare and Randy Coneyworth. Then in the second period, we made it 6-0. Wilf Payment scored from Jay Wells, then Anton Stastny from Greg Teberge and Marian Stastny, and then Paul Coffey from Peter Stastny and Mark Messier. It was 6-0. Then Buffalo finally scored a goal, 6-1 after 2. We had a fight between Mike Ramsey and Ray Neufeld. Then in the third period, Buffalo did score a goal, made it 6-2, but that was the end of the game. A nice 6-2 victory for the Whalers here. Mark Messier has a memorable game. He had 4 assists, as we saw. And Steve Payne extends his point streak to 17 games with 2 goals against the Leafs. Right, we have 3 games left here in March, including a back-to-back against the Bruins. But we have 2 days off before that happens. Bo Berglund is completely recovered. So let's get him back in the lineup. Let's send John Newberry back down. There we go. Another day off. Strong game for Rick McLeish. He had 4 assists against the Devils. And a strong night for Tony McKegney again. He had another 4-goal game against the Vancouver Canucks. Alright, so we are in Boston in the first of a back-to-back against the Bruins. Those used to be a lot more common. You still see them from time to time in the NHL in 2023, but they're a lot more rare. That used to be a thing. Like, usually back in the 80s, your team would play at least a few back-to-backs against the same team. The thing is that back then they were using neutral sites though as well. So they, like, it's not necessarily, like, for example, this game is not necessarily in Boston in real life. It could be, but it could be like in some random neutral site somewhere. But yeah, the back-to-back were a lot more common in the 80s. Anyway, so Boston is 29, 33, and 13. That's good for 8 in the conference. We are 2-3-1 against the Bruins. They have given us a little bit of problems, so I'd love to win both of those games to solve those problems. John Garrett in net for us for game 1. Pelle Lindbergh in net for the Bruins. Come on, Whalers. Come on. Come on. We lost 8-5. That's not good. We were the shots were even at 37-37. Al Seckert was the first star of the game. He had 3 goals and an assist. Willie Plett was the second star with 2 goals and an assist, and Mark Napier was the third star with 2 assists. Boston scored 3 times in the first period. They were up 3-0 after 1. Then they made it 4-0 at the start of the second period, and then Paul Coffey scored from Mark Messier and Wolf Payment. Then Glenn Anderson scored his 25th from Gordy Roberts. It was 4-2, but then the Bruins scored 3 more goals before the end of the period. It was 7-2 Boston after 2. Didn't look too good for us. We did score 3 straight goals in the third period. Glenn Anderson from Jay Wells and Matty Agman. Then Paul Coffey on the power play from Wolf Payment and Darren Veitch. Gordy Roberts scored his 15th from Peter Stastny and Bernie Johnson. It was 7-5 at that point, but the Bruins added a goal in an empty net. We lost 8-5. A little bit worried heading into the playoffs like that. And now the Abs are only 2 points behind us, the god-forsaken Abs, and I have no more games against them, so I cannot have control of my destiny against them. Oh. Right, Al Seckert has a strong game. As we saw, he had 3 goals and an assist against us. Brent Sutter served the suspension. He's coming back. That's good. Suspension for Scott Campbell with the Jets. He's going to miss 2 games. Dino Cicerelli extends his goal streak to 5 games. He had a goal against the Red Wings. Alright, well, playing the same Bruins, they did leapfrog the Rangers with that win against us. Paul Harrison in net for Boston. Jim Martinson in net for us. Come on. We need a win. Oh yeah, 8-2 home victory there over the Bruins. We outshot them 34-25. Matty Agman was the first of the game. He had a goal and 3 assists. Paul Coffey was the second star with a goal and 2 assists. And Brent Sutter back in the lineup with 3 assists and the third star. 8,551 people in attendance for this game. Boston scored first in the first period, then Glenn Anderson scored from Matty Agman and Greg Teberge. It was 1-1 after 1. And in the second period, Darren Veitch scored on the power play from Matty Agman and Mark Messier, then Mark Messier from Glenn Anderson and Matty Agman, and then Anton Stastny from Brent Sutter and Gordy Roberts. 4-1 Hartford after 2. There was a fight between Randy Kennyworth and Paul Holmgren. Then in the third period, Paul Coffey scored from Brent Sutter and Bernie Johnston. Then Matty Agman from Mark Messier and Paul Coffey. Jay Wells from Bo Berglund and Brent Sutter. 7-1 the score. Boston scored, made it 7-2. And then Gordy Roberts scored from Paul Coffey and Glenn Anderson, made it 8-2. We had another fight between Wolf Payment and Paul Holmgren. That was the end of the game. A nice 8-2 victory. However, Glenn Anderson got hurt. He's day-to-day. We're good. Alright, so day-to-day for Glenn Anderson. No further action needed for Roby Ftorek with the Red Wings, so he is not suspended. Alright, we have a day off, and then we have our last game of March. Alright, so Brad Selwood and Blake Wesley, are on waivers again from the Flyers. Now we're playing the Buffalo Sabres. They are 34, 30, and 13 now. They are 6th in the conference, and we are 5-2 against them. Not gonna lie, kind of need that win so that I am 6 points ahead of the Habs and make it almost impossible for them to catch up to me. Alright, Jacques Cloutier is going to be in net for Buffalo. John Garrett is in net for us. Come on, Waiters. We have another good game in the system. Oh yeah, a 3-0 victory, so a shutout for John Garrett. Good game for the Waiters. We outshot Buffalo 31-20. Mark Messier was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Wolf Payment was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Peter Stastny was the third star with an assist. 9,160 people in attendance for the game. Wolf Payment scored his 30th of the season from Mark Messier and Rob Ramage. Then Matty Agman scored his 30th as well from Peter Stastny and Gordy Roberts. And then Mark Messier scored from Brent Sutter and Wolf Payment. 3-0 Hartford after 1, and that stayed like that. Not even a penalty in the last 2 periods, so nothing of note happened in the last 2 periods of that game. Everything happened in the first. Steve Payne extends his point streak to 18 games. He had an assist against the Leafs. Alright, and we're advancing to March 31st. Steve Payne's point streak ended at 18 games. It was held scoreless against the Blackhawks. Passes on point for Willie Lindstrom with the Jets. He had a goal and 4 assists against the Kings. Mariusz Lukowicz has a memorable game in that same game. He had 2 goals and 4 assists. Scott Campbell is back in from suspension with the Jets, and don't care about that. All right, and one more sim here. Suspension over for Mike Bosniak with the Flyers back in the lineup over there. The top-selling Hartford Whalers jerseys for March. Wolf Payment, Peter Stastny, Mark Messier, John Garrett, and Paul Coffey. Okay, the development report. Oh, Brett Hall got better at fighting. That's useful. Ooh, Wolf Payment is regressing. Alright, the top selling jerseys in the entire NHL, we don't have like that weird thing where like my 5 guys were in there. Tony Esposito is top. Big month, so the players of the month were Wayne Gretzky and Al Smith, both of the Oilers. So I guess the Oilers had a really good run in March. Alright, so we end March with a... we're still second in the conference, top of the division, and we have a 4-point lead over the Nordiques. That means that if we can get only 1 point against the Nordiques, we are going to clinch the division. So we only need 1 tie out of those 2 games left against the Nordiques to tie to get the division. In the rest of the NHL, worst team is still the Kings. But what matters are the divisions, right? So, like, as it stands, Boston is not in the playoffs. Devils and Pittsburgh are not. Detroit and LA. Those are the teams that are about. So the Jets, as it stands, are going to make the playoffs with a 19-48-11 record. That there definitely were flaws back then, for sure. Like when you say that a team that has won like what like maybe around 1/4 of their games are going to be in the playoffs. That's not very good. All right, let's take a look at our stats. Our best player is Mark Messier, 95 points in 78 games. So with 5 points in his last 2 games, he could reach the 100-point plateau. So overall, it seems like we've been scoring more goals, but it was spread a lot more among the lineup. We don't have anybody with like a 128-point season this season. Peter Stastny is second with 89 points in 77 games. Wolf Payment has 84 in 72. Hey, Kel, you're catching me right at the end, man. Yeah, you did. Agman, 78 points in 78 games, so I'm pretty happy with that. Matty Agman kind of bounced back. Like, I wasn't too happy with his production last year, and I decided to extend him anyway, and he's been pretty good. And it goes down from there. Paul Coffey has 39 points in 32 games, so I expect more from him. Obviously, he's been hurt a lot, but he should be a lot more, like he should be a lot more than a point per game player like that. Right, and then in the entire NHL, Wayne Gretzky is the best goal scorer with 73 goals. He's also the best passer with 78 assists. So obviously he's the best scorer with 151 points. That's 10 more than Zeno Cicerelli, who is second with 141. So yeah. Lots of 100-point players. Of course, you don't see that many in 2023 anymore. You only get a handful, but back in the 80s, you had a lot of players hitting 100 points seasons. Glenn Anderson still first in short-handed goals for the entire league with 5. They were all scored in November, if I remember correctly. They were all in the same month, so that's kind of interesting. Dave Poulin has 4, and then Randy Cunningworth has 2. So we're a team that scores quite a bit short-handed. I like that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save the game. And then we're going to have the next stream is going to be the playoff. Well, those 2 games and then the playoffs. So that's kind of exciting. We are almost certain to finish first in the division. Like, only way it doesn't happen is if we lose the 2 games against the Nordiques, and even if we do, I think we're gonna have the tiebreaker because we have a better record against them. So I think that we have the division for sure, but I'm not 100%. All right, folks, I'm gonna go ahead and stop here for today. Sorry, Kel, you really jumped in right at the end there. You have a good day. Reach out to me on Discord if you want to talk about your Nordic save. But that's going to be it for me today. If you catch that on YouTube and you like what you saw, you know what to do. Other than that, it's ARG out. Peace out, folks. See you all later.